Hello, everyone. I welcome to this podcast on leadership development. You may be a student or a manager who is leading his journey towards leadership. Or let's say you are already an established leadership expert or a manager and leading a team, inspiring a team of managers and other employees. This podcast is for every one of you because today you will be learning something new. I request every one of you to listen this podcast till the last moment because this is a very impactful podcast for every one of you. So let's get started. First of all, let's talk about leadership. What is leadership and what is the concept of a born leader like? Leadership is an ability of a person to inspire and influence people to accomplish or achieve a common objective. In leadership, it's about the ability of a person to inspire or influence people to achieve a common objective. If in your leadership, you're not achieving a common objective, you may be inspiring or influencing people. However, there is no common objective. So that it's not leadership. Leadership should involve a common objective, a common goal to achieve by the team. If we talk about leadership and the born leader concept, friends, leadership is not an exclusive club for those who are born with it. The traits that are the raw material of leadership can be acquired. Link them up with the desire and nothing can keep you from becoming a leader. I remember I read somewhere about a story which goes something like this. A group of tourists were traveling in the village and someone asked them as they walked by an old man sitting beside a fence. One tourist asked in a patronizing way, "Were any great men born in this village?" The old man replied, "Nope, only babies." This is an amazing concept of leadership. Nowhere there are great men born. Nowhere. The people who were born were babies, and they themselves, with the experience, with knowledge and understanding, with the wisdom they have acquired, and the experiences and skills and talents, they have made themselves good, and from good to great. Leadership is developed, not discovered. I must again tell you, leadership is developed, not discovered. The truly born leader will always emerge, but to stay on top, natural leadership characteristics must be developed. When you see a small kid, a young kid, a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, how they initiate when their friends come at their home. Let's play this thing, let's do that thing. We see a raw qualities of leadership, a raw traits of leadership in young kids. They have not got any education of leadership. They have not got any training of leadership. Yet we saw the raw qualities. And that's why we can say to some extent that yes, there are born leaders. However, with raw qualities, they have to learn about leadership. They have to develop themselves when they have to go with the leadership journey and really establish themselves as a true and genuine leader. Real leadership is being the person others will gladly and confidently follow. Fred Smith, a leadership expert, says leadership is getting people to work for you when they are not obligated. Friends, people should be able to willingly support you and follow you. It should not be out of the position that people are following you. It should be out of that people are really want to support you, not have to support you or follow you. Leadership is to have the followers willingly follow you. Not by force or pressure or because they have to, because you have some kind of a position in an organization or anywhere you are leading. Whether you are a political leader or a religious leader or a leader in an organization taking care of sales, production, management, or anywhere in the world, leadership is when people are willingly follow you. My dear friends, I really love this quote by Dr. John C. Maxwell, which says something like this. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. This is amazing. Leadership begins with the heart, not with the head. Because leadership is all about people, friends. Leadership is all about people. Whenever you think about yourself. It's not about leadership, because leadership is about people. It's about others, not me. It's not me, it's them, it's others. It flourishes with a meaningful relationship, not more regulations. It flourishes with a meaningful relationship, not more regulations. Needless to say, you can love people without leading them, but you cannot lead people without loving them. If you are leading people, you must love them. You have to love them, because this is what leadership is all about. It's about loving people. It's about caring for people. A leader is great, not because of his or her power, but because of his or her ability to empower others. It's not about the power, friends. It's about the empowerment. It's about to empower people. I want to share with you the key principle of leadership, that is priorities. Practical people know how to get what they want. Philosophers know what they ought to want. Leaders know how to get what they ought to want. I hope you know about the Pareto principle. The Pareto principle was given by Vilfredo Pareto, who was actually an Italian engineer. Pareto principle goes something like this. 20% of your priorities will give you 80% of your production. If you spend your time, energy, money, and personnel on the top 20% of your priorities. Yes, top 20% of your priorities. That is something amazing. There are lots of books on Pareto principle. After Vilfredo Pareto, there are many philosophers, many management consultants who have come up with their own ideas and more modifications and something different about Pareto principle. However, the main concept remains the same. The main context remains the same. Examples of the Pareto principle would go something like this. If we talk about time, 20% of our time produces 80% of the results. And yes, I'm talking about the top 20%. If we talk about counseling, 20% of the people takes up 80% of our time. If we talk about products, 20% of the products bring in 80% of the profit. If we talk about job, 20% of our work gives us 80% of our satisfaction. And if we talk about leadership, 20% of the people will make 80% of the decisions. That are the few examples of Pareto principles in relation to 2080 principle. Every leader needs to understand the Pareto principle in the area of people oversight and leadership. For example, 20% of the people in an organization will be responsible for 80% of the company's success. Who will be those 20%? The following strategy will enable a leader to increase the productivity of an organization. Now, what you have to exactly do? Number one, determine which people are the top 20% producers in your organization or the area of your working. Second, spend 80% of your people time with the top 20%. Yes, that is very, very important. You have to spend 80% of your people time with the top 20%. Third, spend 80% of your personal development money on the top 20%. Fourth, determine what 20% of the work gives 80% of the written and train an assistant to do the 80% less effective work. This will actually frees up the producer to do what she or he does the best. And number 5, ask the top 20% to do the on-the-job training for the next 20%. This is what we can do. Friends, my dear leaders, if you actually implement this 2080 principle, Pareto principle, the way I'm sharing it with you, you will be amazed to see the results it will bring in the journey of your leadership when it comes to setting priorities for you and for your team, for your organization, and the results you want to get for your team. Always remember, we teach what we know, and we produce what we are. Another quote is, efficiency is the foundation of survival. Effectiveness is the foundation for success. I want to share with you the difference between leaders and followers. Leaders initiate. Followers react. Leaders lead, pick up phone and make contact. Followers listen, wait for phone to ring. Leaders spend time planning, anticipate problems. Followers spend time living day to day, react to problems. Leaders invest time with people. Followers spend time with people. Leaders fill that calendar by priorities. Followers fill the calendars by request. Now, the last I want to share with you is the 3 R's that will help you to prioritize better as a leader and give you success in your work. They are requirement, written, and reward. I believe that to be effective, leaders must order their lives according to these 3 R's and question themselves. Number 1, what is required? We are all accountable to somebody for the work we do. An employer, a board of directors, stockholders, government, customers, and so on. We also have responsibility for the important people in our lives, such as spouse, children, and parents. For that reason, any list of priorities must begin with what is required of us. The question to ask yourself is, what must I do that nobody can or should do for me? If you are doing something that's not necessary, you should eliminate it. If you are doing something that's necessary but not required of me personally, you need to delegate it. We have to understand and learn to delegate the things which are really not necessary for us to do. So the first question we have to ask of ourselves, you need to ask of yourself is, what must I do that nobody can or should do for me? That is what is required of me. Number 2, the second R. What gives me the greatest return? As a leader, you should spend most of your time working in your areas of greatest strength. Yes, greatest strength. Marcus Buckingham and Donald O'Clifton have done some extensive research on this subject. If you want to read it, you can read it in their book called Now Discover Your Strengths. People are more productive and more content with their work is within their natural gifting and strengths. Leaders should get out of their comfort zone but stay in their strength zone. I want to repeat it again, friends. Ideally speaking, leaders should get out of their comfort zone but stay in their strength zone. What's the practical application for this? A rule of thumb goes like this. If something I'm doing can be done 80% as well by someone else, I must delegate it, or even I should delegate it, I should say. So same way, the same goes for you as well. If you see someone, 80% of that work can be done by you and someone also, you do something else that is more important to you. If you have a responsibility that someone else could do according to that standard, or that could potentially meet that standard, then develop and train a person to handle it. Just because you can do something does not mean that you should do it. Remember, leaders understand that activity is not necessarily accomplishment. So the second R, you have to ask yourself, what return you're getting. Third, what brings the greatest reward? This is the final question relates to personal satisfaction. Tim Redmond, president of Redmond Leadership Institute, observed this thing. There are many things that will catch my eye, but there are only a few things that will catch my heart. Life is too short not to do some things you love. If I speak personally of myself, I love training on sales and leadership. I love creating new content and speaking. I love doing podcasts as I'm speaking to you, doing this right now. I love spending time with my wife and kid. I love watching mystery movies. No matter what else I do, I will make time for those things, for these things exclusively. As a leader, always remember to keep the most important things on high priority. If you are not keeping the most important things on high priority, then you may miss to enjoy the most important things in your life. And you can guess what are those most important things. There are 2 aspects in our lives, my dear leaders. There is one on which we are working, that is a working aspect, and the second is our family, our relatives, our loved ones, and you also. We have to prioritize how we are doing these different things, how we are prioritizing the working culture, the working environment, and the family environment. As a leader, I hope all these concepts that we have studied and also the 3 R's that you have listened will help you understand it. Be a blessing for others. I wish you all the best in your leadership journey.